Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The courtroom was filled with palpable tension. The murmurs died away as Judge Clara DuPont entered, her black robe falling solemnly over her shoulders. For years, she had been known for her rigor and impartiality, but nothing had prepared her for what was about to happen that day. As the trial began, Clara observed the faces of the witnesses, jurors, and lawyers, expecting a routine procedure. But suddenly, her gaze fell upon a man sitting at the defense table. A chill ran through her. This man, it was Lucas, her childhood friend. The same boy with whom she had shared summers running through fields, secrets whispered beneath the trees, laughter echoing until dusk. Lucas, too, recognized her instantly. His eyes widened, his hands trembled slightly. He was no longer the carefree boy she had known, but the weight of their shared past hung in the air, invisible to the others. Clara felt her heart clench, torn between her duty as a judge and the unbreakable bond of friendship that had once united them. The case was serious. Lucas was accused of a crime he vehemently denied. But as testimonies, evidence, and interrogations unfolded, it became clear that this case was not what it seemed. Family secrets, long-hidden betrayals, and unexpected revelations began to surface. Every word spoken reverberated like a thunderclap, every action had an unforeseen consequence. This trial, intended to be a mere legal formality, was about to turn into a media and emotional firestorm. And in the silence of the courtroom, Clara understood that what she was about to discover would shock the entire world. Judge Clara DuPont took her place behind the dais, gavel at the ready, trying to calm the turmoil in her mind. Lucas's gaze, fixed on her across the courtroom, struck her like a lightning bolt. She remembered his curly hair, his sparkling eyes, their shared laughter, and now, here he was, accused of a serious crime. "Mr. Lucas Martin, you are accused of large-scale fraud and organized swindling," announced the prosecutor, his dry voice echoing in the room. Lucas looked up at Clara. I didn't do anything." His voice trembled, but there was a determination in his words that reflected the truth he wanted to reveal. Clara felt her heart clench. The professional neutrality she had always maintained was being tested. She knew that every glance directed at her in this room expected impartiality and authority. Yet, this particular gaze, Lucas's gaze, awakened a past she thought she had forgotten. The defense attorney stood up, a forced smile on his face. "Your Honor, before continuing, I must emphasize a crucial point. My client has always been a respected citizen, known for his integrity. This accusation is based on flimsy evidence and contradictory testimony." The prosecutor frowned. "There is solid evidence, Your Honor. We have documents, witnesses." But at that precise moment, an old man stepped into the room, Lucas's father, a former judge and influential figure, who had remained silent until then. His piercing gaze fixed on Clara. "I hope you will not let the past and friendship dictate justice today," he said calmly, but every word resonated like a warning. Clara took a deep breath, resuming her role. "The court will hear all the evidence before making a decision. I remind you all that respecting the judicial process is paramount." Yet, despite her firm words, she knew this trial would never be ordinary. Every document revealed, every witness questioned, every heavy silence from both the defense and prosecution benches would unveil truths buried for years. And amidst it all, she and Lucas would discover that this trial wasn't just a matter of law, but a confrontation with a past filled with secrets no one could have imagined. The courtroom held its breath when the first witness was called. It was a former associate of Lucas, a woman with a hard but nervous look, who seemed hesitant to speak. "Ms. Leroy, can you confirm that Mr. Lucas Martin signed these fund transfer documents?" asked the prosecutor, brandishing a thick file. She glanced at the papers, then at Lucas. "Yes, but I must point out that these signatures have been forged." A murmur rippled through the room. The prosecutor paled slightly, and Clara felt her pulse quicken. "Falsified?" she asked, her voice firm but measured. "Yes, Your Honor," the witness confirmed. "I worked for a competing company." We wanted to frame Mr. Martin unjustly. Lucas let out a sigh of relief, but Clara could see that the drama was only just beginning. She knew that the truth was always more complex than appearances suggested. Then came the moment that turned the tide of the hearing. Lucas's lawyer stood up and announced, "Your Honor, I request the reading of a recently discovered confidential document. This document not only proves Mr. Martin's innocence, but also reveals that the prosecution was manipulated by influential members of an outside company, with ramifications reaching the highest levels." The room erupted in confused and shocked murmurs. Clara felt an immense weight on her shoulders. Her role as a judge required her to remain neutral, but the discovery of this conspiracy left little room for doubt. Then, a personal revelation hit Clara like a ton of bricks. The document contained a handwritten note, signed by Lucas's father, whom she had never known had any direct involvement in the affair. The ramifications ran deep. Family, friendship, loyalty, and justice were dangerously intertwined. At that precise moment, Clara realized that this trial was no longer simply about guilt or innocence. It was exposing secrets that could destroy careers, lives, and even the justice system. And at the center of it all stood Lucas and herself, bound by a childhood past but now caught in a whirlwind of betrayals and revelations. The silence in the courtroom was almost deafening. Every eye was on Clara and Lucas, as the evidence mounted, revealing a carefully orchestrated conspiracy. Suddenly, the defense attorney tapped softly on the table and announced, "Your Honor, we have a final revelation that will change the course of this trial." Clara looked up, curious and anxious. The prosecutor frowned, as if he sensed the disaster. The lawyer continued, "It turns out that the accused, Mr. Lucas Martin, is not merely the victim of manipulation. For years, he has possessed compromising evidence on several influential members of the company and the public administration. These documents prove that the accusations against him were intended to discredit him and prevent him from denouncing corruption." A stunned murmur rippled through the assembly. The journalists present were already leaning over their notebooks and recording every word, sensing that this affair was about to explode in all the media. Lucas stood up, his voice trembling but confident. "Your Honor, I never wanted any of this to become public, but I can no longer remain silent. I am innocent of these accusations, and I demand that justice be served." Clara felt her hands grow sweaty. She had never encountered a case where justice and personal loyalty were so dangerously intertwined. But she knew what she had to do. Just as she was about to announce her provisional decision, a dramatic turn of events occurred. The prosecutor collapsed, revealing that he had received anonymous threats to cover up the case. The entire courtroom held its breath. Clara, however, understood that this case went far beyond a simple trial. In the midst of the commotion, Clara took a step forward and struck the hammer. "The court is suspending the session. We will examine this new evidence with all due rigor." But at that precise moment, Lucas turned to her and whispered, "Clara, thank you for believing in me." And Clara understood that, despite the scandals and manipulations, she had just witnessed a unique moment, a shock that would not only save her childhood friend, but reveal to the whole world the truth hidden behind a case that no one would have imagined. The courtroom was electric. Journalists, cameras, and spectators held their breath. Everyone present knew that this moment would mark the country's judicial and media history. Clara DuPont, after spending hours examining the evidence, testimonies, and incriminating documents, finally stood up. Her gaze met Lucas's, who seemed both nervous and relieved. Having considered all the evidence, the testimonies, and the revelation of the manipulations orchestrated against the accused, she began, her voice resonating with authority, "The court finds Lucas Martin innocent of all the accusations brought against him." A stunned murmur rippled through the room. Journalists rushed to report the news, their cameras capturing every reaction. Social media exploded within minutes. The trial, which had begun as a local legal matter, was becoming a global phenomenon. Lucas, his eyes shining with gratitude, stood up and bowed slightly towards Clara. "Thank you, for believing in me," he murmured. But the shock didn't end there. Thanks to the documents revealed during the trial, several corrupt high-ranking officials were immediately placed under investigation. Financial and political scandals erupted, and the truth that had been suppressed became public. The whole world followed the case, admiring Lucas's courage and Clara's integrity. As the room emptied, Clara approached Lucas. "I never thought our paths would cross like this," she said, a smile mixed with relief and nostalgia. Lucas replied, "Sometimes fate has its own plans. But today, justice has prevailed." And as the cameras continued to roll and the journalists covered every detail, Clara and Lucas realized that they had just experienced a moment that would be etched in their memories, a mixture of justice, rediscovered friendship, and revelations that had literally shocked the entire world.